and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on May the 28th, 2024. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and with me, as always, on this weird road trip to find our parents,
Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we're going to be discussing the May Game Club, which is Open Roads. We will remind you about the next couple of Game Club games. Parents and victims of Uvalde school shooting sue Activision. Atari acquires Intellivision, burying a 45-year-old Hatchet, and former Square Enix exec on why Final Fantasy sales don't meet expectations and the chances of recouping insane AAA budgets. Timestamps will be in the show notes following the respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
How are you?
A little sore, but, first day back at work, so, for the work week, I should say.
Fair enough.
And also, Tuesdays suck. Fuck Dave Thomas.
I don't know who Dave Thomas is.
The Wendy's guy.
Oh, yeah, fuck that guy.
You want to know why?
Please.
Because he was the one that came up with the idea of the bucket.
Ah.
So fuck him.
Yeah, fuck him.
Actually, that's called necrophilia. It's wrong and frowned upon.
In some cultures. Maybe most cultures, but, not all. So.
Well, he's been dead for a while, so it wouldn't be much of a lay.
Well, I don't have anything funny to say to that.
Oh, so no bones to pick there?
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
Well, if we're going to dig up things, we may as well go into Gameclub.
Hey, straight into it. Gonna. Nope, I got nothing. I think my brain is just shot. Like, we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes, give or take. With 25 of it being Frankie content, like, my brain is, it's gone. So this is going to be good. Yeah, no, so, Game Club. Game Club is the time that you and I set aside specifically to play the same game at the same time and share our thoughts about it. And if the community so wishes to engage, they may do so. It's been a while since that's happened, but we still love you guys and want you to engage with us, please.
Oh, I'm expecting it in a couple months.
This game, yeah, we demand it. This game for May was Open Roads. I have so many, and these feelings are not bad. I have many feelings about this game that have kind of scattered a little bit because of what it is and because of what my understanding of things happening in the game were. So I'm really curious to pick your brain a little bit about the story and stuff before I talk about the story. But broad strokes, Open Roads is a sort of walking simulator with a tiny bit of puzzle solving. That's probably too strong of a word. There's not really any puzzles to solve.
Yeah,
it's
I was gonna say there's not a puzzle in this game.
There's some investigation,
the big puzzle is finding the item that starts the next conversation.
The next conversation. Yeah, one of the only things that I was frustrated with. But yeah, so broad strokes, Open Roads takes place in 2003. You were playing a teenage girl that goes by Tess. She is moving. Her and her mom are going to have to be moving. And that is where sort of the background of the story becomes the foreground of the story. Tess's grandmother has just passed away recently. The house is being repossessed.
Yeah, with a triple mortgage. Oh boy, right?
Yeah, the house is being possessed, and some secrets are found about the family. And you go on a road trip with your mom to uncover the family secret and work some shit out between you guys. And that's, without starting to get into the story or the other little bits of what gameplay there is, that's all that I can say. Now, like I said, there are things that happen in this story that, because of my profession, I was I saw a couple things. There's a couple of medications that pop up, and I knew what those were immediately, which I think is supposed to be oh, what's going on here? But I knew what they were.
I didn't know the exact medication, but I pretty much knew what was going on that one.
So what I want you to do is to kind of maybe walk us through the story a little bit, give me your take, and if you want to ask me stuff before, because I want to talk about it, but I don't want my perspective to completely skew the conversation, because I've got some thoughts based on what I do for a living in case you don't know out there in listener land, I'm a therapist.
Yeah, shrinky dinky.
So I have some opinions on a lot of this stuff based on clients that I've worked with, but before I get into that, I want to hear your thoughts on the story. So let's go through the story and tell me your perspective.
I mean, before we get to beat by beat, I kind of want to go over like general thoughts.
Sure.
And I was a lukewarm on the story overall, and I think it's because and this comes at the end, so really can't go into it right now. But the big reveal felt off because of what you were told in the beginning, you know?
No, I don't feel like the big reveal was like amazing per se, but I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get that. I kind of see where they're going with this.
I think it's, well, I'm trying to think of how to say it without just spoiling the story and kind of, I think my big problem was the big reveal hinged on the idea that the grandfather disappeared. But the thing is that the way that he died doesn't lead into a way to have the story make sense. At least to me, you know?
Yeah.
And I got so hung up on that I brought everything else down.
I'm thinking, like, I don't... Yeah, maybe we should just... Maybe, like, we'll have to talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess, okay, so to start beat by beat, and I'm going to let you, like, take the lead on a bunch of conversation stuff, but...
Oh, joy.
You know, kind of going through the story. So you start off as Tess, and you are, you know, it starts kind of in media...
Tess.
And you finish this test. It starts kind of in media res. You're in the middle of packing and getting ready. Your grandmother has recently died. The house is being packed up. And so you go through packing up your stuff, packing up the house, and starting to sort of explore around these lives a little bit. You can interact with...
They hint just like incredibly massive debt that grandma's left behind. And they had to basically just go for a full-on estate sale just to try to recoup some of it because... You know, Grandma was not great about her finances.
No.
You know, boomer.
She was not. Grandma's not a boomer, though. Grandma is, because the timeline, Grandma and Grandpa, he fought in World War II. There's the document in the basement that says that he fought in World War II.
Oh, sorry. The greatest generation,
so that would be,
silent generation.
Silent Generation is World War I, so I think he's their greatest generation. Mm-hmm. And then your character's mom is a boomer, and I think her
boomer.
Late boomer, and then the sister's young enough that I think that she's Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
Mom's sister, your aunt, the character's aunt. Opal is your mom, and August is your aunt. And they took kind of the two life paths that like the stereotype life paths for women of the time, which is you go to become you become a family person or you become a career woman, and there's no
I don't recall what they said August did. Opal works in theater and is very artsy fartsy.
They never said what August does, just that she's like a career businesswoman. Like she makes a lot of money. She lives in Chicago in like an upscale like townhouse or apartment, but they just say that like she's always busy with work. If it is said somewhere, I missed it, maybe like on one of the letters or other pieces of documentation. And that's the primary way that you interact with the world. You walk through each set piece, which in the first one is your house, and you interact with stuff and you get information. Either your character gives you a piece of information or their thoughts, reading the actual thing itself, like a letter or a playbill or tickets. There's this like plane ticket that you don't know anything about in the first room, for example, which is like a story plot point later, but it's like a ticket to Reno, Nevada. And your character, like when you look at it, it's like, oh, I better hide this where mom doesn't see it. But you have no context for what it is other than it's just like it's a plane ticket. So, but or it prompts you to interact with your mom. Like you're with your mom the entire time of the game. There's one scene where she steps out, and you interact with things on your own. But otherwise, your mom is there the entire time. So yes, you go through the house, in the first scene, you're interacting with things. You're learning about your grandfather, his history, your grandmother's history a little bit. You can find they talk a little bit about grandma's condition. I don't think they explicitly say what killed her, but like if you know the symptoms, you can tell right away what it is. Did you figure out what grandma had?
The kind of the overall mystery.
No. Like, did you figure out like the condition that grandma had that killed her?
No, I think it was Alzheimer's. At least my opinion of it.
It was Alzheimer's. The medication that you find.
See, I didn't know the medication, but they were talking about how, how she declined and some context clues.
Yeah. There are some context clues. You can like get it from that for sure. But like when you find the medication bottle, I was like, oh, that's used to treat people who have dementia and Alzheimer's to help fight memory loss. It helps like delay the inevitable. I should say, I say memory loss. It's really just that deterioration in your brain. It delays it, but it doesn't like stop it.
Yeah, where it turns into tapioca pudding.
Yes.
What? A little graphic?
Yeah. But then Aunt August calls, and you could kind of hear a little bit of a conversation. But like some stuff going on in the background. There are some more context clues for something that's going to be brought up as a reveal later. It's pretty obvious. At least I thought it was really obvious. Then you go up in the attic to try to find a book that she's looking for, and you discover like a secret hidden compartment with a briefcase in it that has got some stuff that points to Grandma maybe having had like a lover, or at least like after Grandpa died, like somebody that she connected with. Wink, wink, connected with. And you convince your mom to go on a road trip to go to their old like summer home. In order
mobile home.
Well, yes. Although the mom tries to hide that. I think she's embarrassed about it. Tries to hide that it's a mobile home because she calls it a cottage at first.
Yeah.
And then you guys go on a road trip. There's a scene in the car where you can interact with some things and talk to your mom. Get some text messages from your dad.
Yeah, and that 2003 shorthand text.
Yes.
Because, she has a flip phone and, you're typing out on the number pad and it sucks.
E9, baby. You investigate.
And there's also another friend that you could text occasionally.
Yep, which I did. I texted her.
I'm blanking on her name. Francine?
It might be Francine. I think it's just Fran in the phone. What did you think about the first area? The home, like your bedroom and the home in general. Did you have any talking points or takeaways?
I will say that the set design, for lack of a better term, is done very well. But my big problem is that there's so many things that you can pick up and it's just, it does nothing. You pick it up, look at it, and it's like, this was some sort of asset they got, or put it back down.
Yeah,
and it felt like it really detracted from it. Where it's neat that you pick up stuff, but the thing is, do I really need Tess to be able to pick up a little rubber mallet off the workbench if she's not going to comment on it?
Yeah, and
it just muddles things.
In the home as well, I think that's the least egregious. That issue gets worse in the other locations because there are so many of the same thing you can pick up. Mm-hmm. At least in the home,
exactly the same.
Yeah, at least in the first home, there's the different kinds of pottery and the different tools, and it's the first area. So you're like, oh, I can pick this up. Does it do something? But in the second, let's see, at the mobile home, and then at the houseboat, there's so much just junk that is exactly the same asset that you can like pick up and move around or like to interact with. I'm not sure what the point was, other than maybe to like give you some extra things to click.
I mean, part of me wonders if there was meant to be more to Tessa's interactions with the environment that was just cut.
Yeah. The stuff that matters, I will say it's neat to be able to pick them up and turn them over. There's animate, like the hands are animated for turning things over and around, but they're not over animated. You know, like it's a nice detail, but it doesn't feel like the game is like, ooh, look at those fingers, look at those finger movements. You know, like it looks good. The art style overall, I find to be memorable.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clean. It's got a very good, you know, color palette. It seems to flow naturally when they do things like animate the fingers for, you know, moving the papers and note cards and whatnot around. Everything is pretty legible. The fact that you can zoom in and kind of change your view around lets you read the stuff, but it does have, everything has gotten, you know, a button that you can click to read it, which just puts the text on screen where it's very clear and you know, readable.
I would say I would say
note.
clear and readable depends on the item, because there's a couple items that you hit read and it, like some of the ledgers, and it's just garbled. At least to me, it was garbled. It was a mess.
Yeah. So you're in the car. The car gives you opportunities to talk to your mom directly. Like there are scenes that pop up where you can talk to and comment, but the car seems like you're on the road, you're getting these conversations, you're expressing your feelings about what's going on. You discover, you know, as the player, you discover in the first scene or at the first home where like your parents are separated. You get to talk to your dad via text messages in the car. You talk to your mom about it a little bit. She doesn't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. Like it does. I think it does a pretty good job with like the reluctant teen, reluctant mom dynamic. Mm-hmm. I feel like it handles that pretty well. It didn't feel stilted to me. But
also the illusion of choice kind of falls away here, where no matter what you choose, it always feels like it's doesn't matter.
Did you replay some things to check that out?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's actually true, but it felt like no matter what I did, I was still being steered towards the same thing, you know? Sometimes kicking and screaming, but... Right?
Yeah. Although, I will say that does feel pretty much like that old school parenting. You know, like no matter what you say or what you do, you know, mother knows best, and she's going to direct you towards this aspect of the conversation. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but I'll talk, you know, when I talk about themes in here in a little bit, like I do want to like bring that up. But the, you know, the first area, first car ride, then you get to the family summer home, which is a mobile home that has a stand-in for a Volkswagen van, VW van.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not a VW.
Yeah. Which was converted into like a bedroom for Opal when she was a teenager. That's parked out front, and you're investigating this dilapidated mobile home. And you're doing again the same thing. You walk inside, you know, you try to find a way in. You interact with things. You have conversations with your mom. Some of the interactions seem to start leaning you more towards one personality or another. For example, in the mobile home, there are some wall-mounted taxidermied animals. And your responses to that, you know, your mom will tell you like, yeah, no, I killed all of those except for the deer. And you can respond sort of like, oh, well, that's cool, Mom. Or like, how could you hurt animals? And there are, you know, sort of, that one's pretty binary. There are a few others, things like that, where you can have more, slightly more nuanced decisions. But you can start to craft a character personality for your tests. I thought those were neat, providing some decent contextualization for differences and generational differences and how they approach things. But again, you explore, you're uncovering some more information. Oh, it seems like Grandma actually did have some kind of a fling. She had like a mystery man. And after Grandpa died, like, you know, she was like flirting with this guy, talking about moving in with him, moving the family in with him. You know, that kind of thing. Like, that you learn a few things about August and Opal's relationship, how that August was a very sensitive girl.
A very weird one.
A very weird and very sensitive girl who...
Took the loss of her father very hard.
Yes, took the loss of her father very hard, and kind of got pushed by grandma to sort of bury those feelings metaphorically, and then she took it literally and buries her feelings in her best friend, or well, her imaginary friend in the backyard. You learn that your mom's relationship, like she had a relationship that kind of mirrors her grandmother's, and mirrors the relationship that she has with Tess's father. During this time period, she had a guy, Chris, something, huh?
Kurt, with a C. It was her bad boy on a motorbike.
Yeah, there were some things that kind of are parallels to grandmother's relationship, and then also the relationship that Opal had with Tess's father, and then you discover like, oh, this like grandma's person, like there's some mention about the kids actually being his, like is he actually is our, you know, was dad actually not our dad? Was this mystery man actually our dad? There's some stuff about him having a boat, like buying a houseboat in Canada, and that you know, there's the potential to go find it. And Tess convinces her mom to drive to Canada to find the boat.
Didn't take much convincing, though.
It did not. Then you get another scene in the car where that you can again, you have an interaction with your mom, making some choice about how you present conversations with your dad, things that you learned at the house. You get to a hotel. Your mom goes to get dinner, and you're alone in the hotel. And so then you can explore in the hotel. You can go through your mom's bag, find that she has some pills. You can start texting your friend, Fran, and you can frame some of your feelings about what you've discovered so far in the way that you text her. You can also text your dad. Your mom comes back.
Don't forget finishing your goddamn meal.
Yes, you have to eat your goddamn meal. Cheeseburger and fries. But
no, remember it's an burger.
Right. Burger and fries. But your mom is having a conversation with your aunt. She then hands you the phone at some point, and your aunt reveals that she has invited you and your mom to come live with her, and your character doesn't know anything about this, unless, of course, you were paying attention earlier and can put like context clues together.
I mean, I kind of guessed that one.
Yeah.
I mean, when they were talking about how much space she has and everything, it's like, okay, either the aunt has invited us, or Opal is too prideful, or there's a lot of bad blood, and Opal's going to be envious that she wasn't invited. You know?
Yep.
Because before
the answer
this,
is C, a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
But
mostly column A.
But the thing is that before this, you're facing essentially homelessness, you know?
Yeah.
And Opal's constantly talking about, well, we'll figure something out. Which also makes the whole idea of going on a road trip seem very weird, you know?
Yeah. But so yeah, after you talk to your aunt, you go to bed, the scene ends, then you've got another scene in the car, you realize you left your phone at the hotel, you get in an argument with your mom, you can be, and you're inflammatory towards her, you can choose what to talk to her about.
Yeah, pretty much no matter what you do, you're inflammatory. You're a teenage girl.
You're a teenage girl who is upset. But you have a fight with your mom in the car. You get somehow you find where the houseboat is. You show up.
It's because you found a piece of mail that had a return address at the summer
you're
cottage.
Right.
Oh, wait, sorry, mobile home.
The mobile home. No, you're right. The return address is on there. I think somehow you found the address was like, how did they get the MapQuest directions? Like, they don't have a laptop. Neither of them have a laptop. Did they find, like, I don't know. I'm thinking too much about this. But
Uh, I mean, honestly, the story, once you start thinking about it, kind of falls apart. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. Then you get to the houseboat. You investigate the houseboat, which is
Beach.
on one of it's beached. On one of the documents you can find, like if you read them, they're on the cork board in the office, not on the boat. Talks about a dam being built and how that this is gonna wind up a dried up lake bed.
Yeah.
And so the boat is beached on the lake bed. And you investigate the boat. You find some correspondence between your grandmother and the mystery man. And turns out the mystery man is actually your grandfather. It was him, and he faked his death because he was behind a series of crimes, which are mentioned earlier. We haven't mentioned them because, honestly, they're almost
it was mentioned
inconsequential.
Very in passing.
Yeah.
And along with his kind of role in it, essentially he was poker buddies with the robbers. He didn't know this at the time. And they figured out that if they could press him for knowledge about these buildings, because he was a building manager or a building inspector, they could get info on how to break into these buildings and not trip alarms and such. And they cut him in for like 10% or so of the profit.
Yeah.
Of the take. And over time, they got more and more brazen. I don't think they ever mentioned that they were caught, though. So who knows what happened to them?
Yeah, and this again, the details that we're saying, they are in the first area. If you investigate everything in the basement, yeah. I thought there were 2 news clippings. Regardless, I think there's one news clipping that prompts your mom to tell you that your grandfather was a building inspector, and then one news clipping that mentions the break-ins. I
was talking about the break-ins themselves because that's a big plot point that you could, I think, easily miss.
Yeah.
And this is where the story kind of falls apart because, okay, the big trauma, the big thing that happened is they always talked about how Tessa's grandfather, Opal's dad, whatever, died of a heart attack. How the fuck do you fake that?
I don't know.
That's once I sat down and thought about that, the entire thing just fell apart for me. If they picked, he drowned, or he went out sailing and got lost at sea, something. But they mentioned heart attack. That creates a corpse. That creates a corpse around people. How the fuck do you fake that without involving a lot of people? And from the sounds of it, with the correspondence between the grandfather and the grandmother, nobody knew this. That he faked his death. And it just bugged the ever-living shit out of me. I know it's a minor thing, and that they could change a minor detail and make it more plausible, but it just got stuck in my craw.
Yeah. I didn't think twice about it. Was thinking about other things and had bought into the story and other points. You make an excellent, cogent point. You're right. How do you fake a heart attack? I mean, I guess you could say,
Yeah, that's why the big reveal at the end felt more out of left field than it had any right to be. Because heart attack. They said heart attack multiple times.
Yeah. So, the rest of the story, that's the reveal that Granddad faked his own death with a heart attack, but while you're exploring the boat, you realize that he had gotten, a shitload of money in 1960s dollars. At one point, I'm not sure. At one point, they mentioned $250,000, and then at another point, they mentioned $40,000. So I'm not sure if $40,000 was his percentage of the take, or if he started with $250,000, and by the time he got the houseboat, he only had $40,000 left.
Well, they said the houseboat was, what was it, 6,000, 9,000, something like that. I know it was sub 10.
Yeah, it was less than 10,000.
But remember, he also was only on the take for 10%. So even if you do $250,000, that's still 25,000. Right?
Yeah.
Which
they do mention, though, it does mention somewhere in one of the notes that he had $40,000 at one point. I got a couple of them out of order. There's no, mechanically speaking, there's no real direction to tell you where to go. I think, again, they're trying to do that investigation thing. But because you can find things out of order, you can get story bits out of order.
And also get some mood whiplash where, you get this big poignant, talking about, Nightshade, this spooky and imaginary friend that Aunt August used to have. And then, have a very conversation about the Hobbledy horse,
Yeah. So if he had $40,000 in 1960s money, according to the U.S. inflation calculator, that is equivalent to roughly $340,000 in today's money. Mm-hmm. So, it's a good chunk of change. It's not, you're not going to live forever. Actually, the story is set in 2003. How much is that worth in 2000? $200,000. Which, not going to live forever. You would still have to work or have some kind of income. But if you planned accordingly, you could go quite a ways with $200,000. But the point of the story is, actually, he's, a shitty guy, has kind of always been a shitty guy. He threw in with these criminals, and then he pissed off, $200,000, basically.
Well, also, the guilt got to him, and he basically just started day drinking. There was a ledger that, whenever you go to read it in the text mode, is completely garbled. It was something like $40-some in 1960s money for whiskey.
Yeah,
that's a lot of whiskey.
Yeah,
but they also kind of just end it. There's no mention of if he's dead or not, and Opal's just like, I don't care, and that also kind of got to me.
Yep, this is one of those things that I thought might bother you that I would have a different take on, but
well, it's more. I had already lost my suspension of disbelief with the heart attack thing.
Yeah.
So having and I know they're meant to go for a more open ending, and move to Chicago, and and the story continues. And this is a slice of life thing. But I was already feeling unsatisfied, and that was just putting a cherry on top of it,
Yeah. So, give me your broad overall thoughts and or feelings on the story, and talk to me.
I believe I could sum it up in one word: meh.
Okay.
As in, it's not terrible, but it definitely feels like the development was rushed, or there was meant to be more here, and something happened. I'm not sure if it's COVID or what, and the game is massively scaled back to compared to what it should have been.
Okay.
Mechanically, I don't have that much of a problem outside of, once again, it could just be the very deal that things changed in development. So things that we're complaining that is just muddled, muddles things. Was meant to be more important, picking up the hammer, for example, in Act 1, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, it feels like it could have been more,
Yeah. I think most people agree with you. Looking at, review scores, which are dubious at best, but it seems to have sort of average review scores in most places. Outside of the major reviewers, it seems to average something like a 7 out of 10. And obviously that's hot garbage on the big review websites, but on smaller review sites that tend to use the scale more as intended, 7 out of 10, decent, but not perfect. There's some sixes on there, 6 to 7 out of 10. So I think most people agree with you. So here's the thing. If you told me that the developer, maybe the lead developer, it's a small team. So if you told me that the lead developer or a couple of the developers on this, wrote this game mostly from their own personal experience, I would 100% believe you. I hear these types of stories more often than you'd think. I mean, it's not super common that someone comes to me and is like, yeah, my dad faked his death or whatever. I have gotten those stories from people before. But beyond that, the story itself, to me, like, lots of things that stick out as I think being really well done by someone who has been there and experienced these things is this idea of generational trauma and how the young, especially like, I mean, the character in this story is like firmly a millennial, and millennials, every generation has their own struggles and there are things that they face. Millennials are a huge pivot point in our culture on many, many areas: economics, sociologically, education-wise, from a technological standpoint. Like, millennials are like this pivot generation where that they represent the point where things, especially in American society, I don't know how well this translates to European societies or Asian societies, but for America specifically, millennials are this pivot point generation where so many things changed in this time frame, and the world no longer was what it once was. Obviously, the world has always been evolving. It's always changing. But because of so many factors that came together at the same time, millennials faced some very interesting challenges that their parents and so on and so forth did not have to face. And this story encapsulates that in ways like I hear real people talk to me about in therapy. And so the story itself is fine. It's not particularly great. It's not egregious. But in the way that it's told, based on my personal experience as a clinician, it feels extremely real to me in a way that I don't know if quote unquote normal people would experience. Because I think a lot of it does feel like it's nonsensical and like does break down and has plot holes in it. But like, those are how real stories are told across multiple generations. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that I experience from people. And Opal and August are trying to escape the trauma that their parents put onto them. And similarly, Tess is trying to escape the trauma that her parents have placed onto her. We didn't really talk about it. Her father, Tess's father, who he gets named. I don't remember his name. It's not really important to the story, because the point to the story is it's like he was kind of somewhere between like a deadbeat and an idiot who like was chasing these get rich quick schemes, and it's like they make it seem like he has a good heart, but he's just kind of like dumb and doesn't seem to get it. So he's always off like trying to make a quick buck, and he is becoming a professional gambler, which is a thing. Like, there are lots of like references to the particular era that don't make sense if you weren't there or don't know the early 2000s very well.
Yeah, poker was really crazy in the early 2000s.
Yes, World Series of Poker, man. Like, it had its rise and fall in the early to mid 2000s. Like, and there were people who became millionaires overnight by going to professional poker tournaments, and whether they bring their own money or they got sponsored, and then they won big and won millions of dollars and like built careers off of it. Like, it's wild. But like, from the perspective of like someone in the early 2000s, like, absolutely, like, it's stupid. This guy's going and wasting his time, and like maybe he was anyways, who knows. But like, that's his thing in the story, and like he wants to have a relationship with his daughter, but he's just kind of like a teenager at heart too, and he doesn't know how to do it. So it's like Tess is trying to escape the generational trauma put on her by her parents, plus society. Tess is a nerd. It's I didn't realize it at first. I didn't get it till the end of the game when she like specifically directly calls it out. And I was like, oh. But on her desk, or maybe in her desk drawer in the first scene, there's an invoice where she's made like $250 off of designing a website. But like, I didn't realize that was her doing that. And then she works at like a video rental store.
Yeah, which is also very early 2000s.
Yes, it is. But it's like, she's a nerd. And this is like the .com era. And women are not like they're super underrepresented in tech, and I think that's still the case today. I don't have any up-to-date statistics, but like especially then, like women very underrepresented in tech. And her mom is the whole story is like, no, you need to go to college and do what we did. And she's like, no, I want to be a tech person like Bill Gates. And I mean, they don't call out Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, but she's like, why should I go to college? Like, I've already got a business building websites. I'm making money. Like, I don't need to go to college for this. So it's like all of these themes about generational trauma, escaping generational trauma, the stories and the myths that we make, as people, like these small myths that form up around or inside of families. Like, yeah, the story itself, like on a surface level, like you're right, mediocre. But to look at it through this lens, and again, maybe I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting, but
I think you are.
I was there. Like, this connected with me in a way because I deal with this with people all the time for what I do. Every day I'm dealing with somebody's generational trauma. So
I guess that's also just why it fell flat. I don't deal with this, so, and just didn't hit home,
yeah.
Although I was doing a little bit of digging while you were, hemming and hawing and doing some extremely heavy lifting, and oh boy, this game did have some development issues. Basically, it seems like the head of the developer that was originally working on it was a massive cunt.
Of course they were. Of course.
And basically drove a lot of women off the project, ironically enough.
Well, shit. Like,
I didn't know anything about this until I started poking around.
Yeah. So
to the point to the point that the original developer is now just a solo, this guy, and that's why it's Open Road's team as the dev team.
Gotcha. Here's the thing. Like, I have all of these connections. I have all this experience, but I can connect the dots. A better game could do that for you too. Like, I'm a special case. If the game was better, it could have done that. Maybe not quite in the same way, but it could have done that. A good story can get its point across. A great story can get you invested in that point. And I happen to be the exact right person to get what I think this story is trying to do. And to everyone else on the outside, it doesn't do a very good job of that. And I think your rating of this game would be more correct and representative of a normal person than mine would be. And like, I fully understand and admit that. I am extremely biased on this one. Mm-hmm. So, regardless, I think if you listened to this Game Club in its entirety, you don't need to play this game.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, games like this is a bit of a hard sell for me because it's usually a one and done. And usually just a couple hours.
Yep.
This is where having them on like Game Pass, where I could play them, and the devs still get compensation, really makes sense for me.
Yeah, same. I will say I liked my time with this game. I don't feel like it was a waste of time.
I will say that it's cheaper than a lot of the other ones of this like ilk.
How much does it cost if you like buy it?
Sorry, it's on sale right now. It's on a special promotion.
Open Roads is $15 on Steam right now. Oh, that's the special promotion. $20.
Yeah, that feels a little steep.
Yeah, I got about 2 hours out of it. Or it took me about 2 hours to complete it. If I went back for the achievements to do a few specific things to get the achievements that I missed, I'd probably get another hour out of it. But I don't feel compelled to.
The walking sim genre is a bit of a harder sell for me because I don't want to spend $20, $30 on a one-off, essentially.
Yeah.
Especially if I get to the end and I just feel underwhelmed,
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, if you've heard us talk about this and you're like, I'd like to see it for myself, play it on Game Pass or watch a let's play. Like, there is no need for you to buy this game unless, I don't know, you're just like a feel compelled to for some reason. Like,
or you're a fan of one of the actresses.
Yes, I suppose. I don't know any of the actresses. I don't think.
Both Hollywood stars.
Are they really? Who are they? Hang on. Who are the actresses?
Kerry Russell and Caitlin Denver.
Okay, I know who Kerry Russell is. Sort of. What's her filmography, just to make sure.
Let's see. Caitlin Denver is in the Last of Us TV show. So there's another, and also was in the fourth Uncharted game.
I've never played either of those. I've never played the fourth Uncharted game, and I haven't seen...
She was in an episode of Modern Family. Where was she a recurring character? She was in Justified, if you ever saw that show.
I have seen an episode here or there. I like Justified. I would like to watch the whole series.
If you ever seen Loretta, that's her in that show.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Justified's actually... feels a little bit like a documentary for me, even though, not the right state, but oh boy. Yeah. It's a little hard to watch.
Fair enough. Okay.
Looking at her movies, she's been in a fair amount since 2011, although I'm not familiar with any of them. But that's just, me being, not watching many movies these days.
Yeah, I also don't watch very many movies anymore. But
okay. Fairly decent size celebrity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not A-lister, but right?
Yeah.
At least I don't think, as far as I know.
Yeah, Kerry Russell, for just to list off a few of the things that she was in. She was in Honey, I Blew Up the Kid in the early 90s. She was in We Were Soldiers. She played one of the soldiers' wives. Mission Impossible 3. She played a character named Lindsay Ferris. I've never actually seen Mission Impossible 3. She was a random side character in Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, but that's why they've got Rise of Skywalker listed on the Steam page.
Yeah, but to be fair, that character has like some deep lore somewhere in the Disney vault.
Yeah, she was in the movie. She was like Poe's like long lost ex-girlfriend or something, so that like Disney could be like, no, see, he's not gay, really, even though he absolutely should have been gay with Finn specifically. But whatever. And then on TV,
I just saw one of the sequel trilogy and never bothered with the others.
Yeah, you didn't miss much.
Although Rogue One was pretty good.
Rogue One was extremely good. But yeah, she's been in a bunch of TV stuff too. It's like one episode here, 2 episodes here. She was in Arrested Development for an episode. Scrubs, she's on a couple episodes. So, yeah, that's Kerry Russell, in case you didn't know. Her career was seemingly much bigger in the 90s and early 2000s. Which I guess checks out for her role in this game. But anyways, yeah, Open Roads. B- for me.
I would say C+.
Okay.
And that's mostly because, the story kind of falls apart under a little bit more scrutiny.
Yeah.
And just because it didn't, resonate. It didn't resonate, so I couldn't ignore the gaps of the story,
Yeah. Fair enough. Still, though, both of us, like, I think, we both just said that, but just to reiterate, like, if you listen to this whole thing, you don't need to play it unless you really, really want to.
Or you want to be a bratty kid in 2003.
You also could watch a Let's Play. Listen, if you want to be a bratty kid in the 2000s, fucking play Class of '09. I'm going to talk about that in, like, the next episode where we talk about games. That's a wild ride. One of my clients, who's a teenager, was like, have you played this game, Class of '09? I'm like, no. Then they showed me a couple of things, and I'm like, holy fuck, I need to play this game. It is Jesus, it's wacky. It also makes some points about the 2000s and generational trauma and societal trauma and expectations, specifically about women, but boy fucking howdy does it like turn the dial up. Well, I'll talk about it. I can't go off on this tangent right now. We got other stuff to talk about. Class of 09. I'll talk about it next week or the next time we record. Anyways, speaking of next things, our next game club, our next two specifically, the game club for June is Another Crab's Treasure, and the game club for July is Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, two big ones.
Yep. I'm working on a tactician run for Baldur's Gate 3. I'm hoping to finish that.
Well, I need to get the Steam Deck where my Baldur's Gate 3 has the same mod, or a couple mods.
Yeah.
But I do have Windows sideloaded on an SD card to play Another Crab's Treasure on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Yes, I've gone that far in the weeds. Right?
Nice.
And it actually works fairly well. There's a couple tools that you can get to be able to access some of the more advanced features of adjusting the TDP.
Yeah.
And fine-tune things within Windows, but it actually wasn't that hard to set up. I might talk about that next week. The fact that I have Windows living on an SD card, right?
Yep. All right.
Although I do need to get a key for that at some point.
Oh, do you need a Windows key?
Well, I just have Windows 10 Home Edition on it, and the key that I got from you before did not work.
Oh, okay. I wish I would have known. I would have asked my father-in-law to get me another key.
Well, I wasn't too worried about it because I may have done some registry hackery to remove the watermark.
Nice.
And I don't really care that much about the customization because it's Windows living on a fucking SD cards.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think. You're going back into storage now. We're going back to SteamOS.
Alrighty. Ready for our first news article of the night?
No. Let's do it anyway.
Okay. Parents and victims of the Uvalde school shooting sue Activision.
And here we go again, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of generational trauma, welcome to the 90s.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about this story. We have talked multiple times on this show about guns and gun control regulation and lack thereof in the United States. So all of those conversations, kind of smush those together into a ball and sit them on one side. And on the other side, take, like you said, the trauma from the 90s of blaming video games for violence when that's actually not a thing, and ball that together and put it on the other side, and then put a ref in the middle and yell fight. That's what my brain feels like right now.
Pretty much. I mean, I get it. Okay, I get it. These parents have been through hell without any reservation. And their police force really, 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 really fucked up. But they found themselves to be not liable because, of course, they did, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if that's true or not, but let's go for it because it makes more sense. This is for those who have not been keeping the score at home. This is the school shooting where the police responded within 5 minutes, and then sat in the hallway outside the classroom for 2 hours.
Yep, and didn't do anything,
and didn't do jack shit until border control showed up and went in and just murdered the guy. And at that point, a lot of, second, third graders? I mean, it was just little kids essentially just bled out because they sat there on their fucking phones in the hallway and listening to kids scream.
Yeah.
And the parents cannot go after the police because, of course, right?
Yep, they have qualified immunity.
And not just that, the Supreme Court has actually said that the police are not liable or not required to protect the public safety. Because of course, right?
Of course. Listen to the 5-4 podcast if you'd like a history of just you, Rage, but also people listening. Like, listen to 5-4 pod. It's a whole ass podcast about how much the U.S. Supreme Court sucks. This case is in there, among others.
So, anyway, this is the parents trying to essentially get something. And they're casting a wide net. I mean, it's not just Activision. They're going after a gun company that either was involved in the sale or... The article we have is very light on everything except going after Activision. The angle on that one is that within a week of him playing the whatever Call of Duty was out at the time, he went and bought a gun. But this guy, I looked into him some more, because as much as I hate to, we're talking about him, so we gotta know what the fuck. He was seriously fucked up, and had a clinical case of bitch be crazy.
Yeah.
Going on social media, talking about how he's going to be famous, how he's going to be all over the news. Driving around with a BB gun pointing at people, as prank videos, right? Posting them online, and whatever views he got fed into this delusion of grandeur that he had about himself, to the point that he was calling, according to a couple of the articles I read, other people randoms. So way out there. So I don't think there's one just catalyst outside of him. Just, I hate saying the system failed him, because there's only so much you could do, especially if you don't want help. But there were so many red flags going on. He should have been dealt with long before this. But red flag laws are a rarity in the United States.
Yeah,
because Second Amendment, gotta have those guns for that well-maintained militia.
There are a few states that have red flag laws, and
Texas
they have been
is not one of them.
No, California, New York, I think Oregon has them, Washington State, and they work. Red flag laws work. We have got data to back that up. But of course, United States, gun culture, etc., big ball of feelings wadded up and put over on one side here for this. But so I'm looking at the firearms company, Daniel Defense.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they make several different. They take the AR platform and have several different variations of it, both an AR-15 and the AR-10, and then they have their own handgun, the Daniel H9, which looks like it is.
They're saying they groomed the teenager to become a shooter.
This looks like a not Glock, is what this looks like. And then they do have ranges. Looks like they have classes, instructors. They have lifestyle gear. What the fuck does lifestyle
I was about to
gear
say,
mean? I think I know. Okay, yeah, it's branded stuff. Whole bunch of camo.
A bunch of mall ninja shit.
Yeah, a whole bunch of camo, hoodies. They have
separate for the day. Go check out Mall Ninja sometime. Dude,
Mall Ninja is fucking. God, I almost said he's my hero, which is not entirely true, but it's a fun ride to read about Mall Ninja. But it looks like they've got it all. Think about a full tactical. Those tactical guys, those tactical guys you see. This looks like the kind of stuff that they sell.
Mall Ninja is a subreddit. It's not a guy.
Oh, so have you never seen the original Mall Ninja?
No, I haven't.
Postings? Holy fuck. It's a guy. It's a mall security guard.
Okay.
And his journey. I don't know if I've still got that stuff. This was shown to me many years ago. Yeah, it's a guy. It originally was a guy.
What I know of Mall Ninja is basically people using tactical shit for on tactical purposes.
Yeah. No, he was a. I think the reason that it's called Mall Ninja is like the subreddit is because it was a mall cop who started like outfitting like his golf cart and himself with like tactical gear and riding around. I'll have to see if I can find it because somebody sent me like a long time ago. This has been like years and years ago when somebody mentioned Mall Ninja to me for the first time. I'm like, what is that? And they're like, Jared, let me tell you the story of the Mall Ninja. So I'll have to see if I can find it. It might be buried in some of my old stuff, but yeah.
Oh, here you go. Here's some Mall Ninja for you. I'll drop it in Discord. And you may actually want this. That's going to be the fun part, or at least that first one.
What do we got? Follow the link. I used to have one of those. For one of those being the Halo Energy Sword, but like a real one that's made out of like stamped, some kind of stamped metal, aluminum probably.
And Wolverine claws and arm shield.
Yeah.
But that first one, I figured you actually may want.
Yeah. I had one of those. Bought it in like the late 2000s. I think it cost me like $50. It was like purely for display purposes. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what happened to it. Like I don't have it anymore. I haven't had it in forever. But yeah, anyways, that's Daniel Defense. The gun manufacturer that they're suing. I'm sure they'll make a shitload of money off of this because they'll, turn around and be like, they're trying to cancel us. They're trying to cancel our Second Amendment rights. Like I can hear it now.
Yeah, and there may be some sort of settlement just to make this go away for the parents. I don't think they're. I don't think that they're out to make a buck. I think they're out to make a statement, and they're just lashing out.
Yeah, and I can't say that I blame them.
No, I can't either.
The system is fucked. This country is fucked, and they're trying to do anything that they can to get some semblance of closure. And this whole situation is just fucked because this lawsuit is pointless. Video games do not cause violence. That's been proven time and time again. The United States has a unique culture, I'll say that, around firearms. And the guns are the problem, not the video games. I wish the parents the best. I don't see this going anywhere or doing anything.
Yeah, and it's not going to damage Daniel Defense enough to put them out of business. It's definitely not going to hurt Activision.
Yeah, seems highly unlikely. Suppose anything could happen, but it seems very unlikely. So, yeah, let's move on. I'm very sad now.
To the end of the console wars. And we did it. The console wars are over. The first generation has been won.
Yep. Oh, there's the gun. Sorry.
So Atari acquires Intellivision, which is technically community corner content as well because, Jim's in it in. But honestly, as far as I know, both these companies are essentially just brand names. They don't really put out anything. They've been... I know Atari's been passed around so many times that it's literally just a trademark.
Yeah,
that they sometimes shit out a shitty remake or one of these retro consoles that barely work. Did the Atari one ever come out?
I don't remember. Atari.
Now, what's interesting is there's 200 properties involved in the Intellivision trademark, but Atari doesn't say what they are because, of course, they don't. This is way before my time, so I'm not even sure if I would be able to guess what the games would be that would be affected by this.
Yeah, same.
But it is kind of fascinating that that the first big console war has been called, right?
Took them long enough. Oh, it did launch the Atari VCS. Unknown the sales figures.
Of course.
Sales related to hardware fell from 2.4 million in 2021 to around 212,000 in 2022 due to underperformance by the VCS. Company suspended relationship with the original manufacturing partner, Atari says it remains committed to the VCS platform.
Well, now we get to see the Intellivision one in a couple of years, right?
Yep. I'm pressing F, pressing F to doubt.
I thought that was to pay respects.
Touche.
You press X to doubt.
You can buy one. They're still listed for sale on Atari's website for $200. Kind of want one. I'm not gonna buy one, but I kind of want it. PC mode, a true hybrid device. The Atari VCS is a uniquely versatile machine for PC hobbyists and DIY hardware enthusiasts. Okay, all right. I'm gonna close this.
Sorry, I'm still on Mall Ninja shit looking, and I'm just fascinated.
All right.
I need to close this.
Yep, I know that feeling.
But I can't look away. As a matter of fact, I must infect you with Blade Sports, and then I'll close Mall Ninja shit. Oh, sorry. There you go. Enjoy.
Okay.
There's just something about how he slowly walks around,
Yep.
And also the beards,
I mean, props to him, like having a blade that continues to stay sharp after doing all of that.
Or sharp enough.
I'm not the best at sharpening a knife. I can do an okay job. I couldn't sharpen a knife that would keep its edge after that abuse.
Yeah, but there's just something about how he's walking around,
just a big, fat guy with a big beard, bald head, wearing his shorts, and his shirt that's too short, so every time he raises his arm, you can see his belly. Yeah, I mean, this is, of course, the Mall Ninja that lives inside us all. All right. So, yeah, I don't know what Intellivision games, like, going back to kind of before we got majorly distracted, I don't know what games Intellivision would, like, they're gonna put out, gonna release, re-release, incorporate, whatever.
Let's see. Burger Time, Pitfall, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. There we go. That's the thing, is that unless you have a nostalgia for this, it's very hard to get back to the Intellivision Atari days. Hell, even the NES is a bit rough if you're outside of like platformers and such.
Yeah. Qbert, maybe.
Donkey Kong Jr., there you go.
Donkey Kong Jr., yeah.
Yeah, there is Qbert, Bump and Jump, Dracula, Microsurgeon, Horse Racing.
Oh my god, could you imagine the 2025 reboot of Horse Racing?
I mean, that's the problem, is that, like I said, it's very hard to go back. Once you go back a certain way, things start to fall apart. So like how, if you go back to the Nintendo 64, unless you have nostalgia for it, it's more than a little jank, and also more than a little ugly outside of certain games where they leaned heavily into a certain art style. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this, but this is really just one shell of a company being bought by another. At least in my opinion. I'm sorry to kind of poo-poo this, but it's really hard to get worked up about it whenever one, it's way before my time, and two, they don't really disclose anything outside of, hey, we bought them.
Yeah, I mean it's neat. That's what I'll say. It's neat. All right, so let's hit up our last news article. Former Square Enix exec on why Final Fantasy sales don't meet expectations and chances of recouping insane AAA budgets.
It's basically he's trying to debunk the theory that Square Enix has absurd sales targets, and it's more about return on investment based off what you would get if you just invested the money. Which, that doesn't feel like a good way to compare it either,
Yeah.
Navik, this is hang on, what's his former Square executive Jacob Navik. All right, so Navik noted that if a game costs $100 million to make over 5 years, it has to be what the company could have returned investing a similar amount of money in the stock market over the same period. For 5 years prior to February 2024, the stock market averaged a return rate of 14.5%. Investing that $100 million in the stock market would net you $201 million. So that's our return on investment baseline. That seems very disconnected from the reality of the business you're in.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. And on the one hand, I can kind of see the logic. Like I can, like if I squint, I can see the logic. But creating a product, whether it's a video game or a cookie or a whatever, like those things are not zero-sum games. They're not zero-sum endeavors, and neither is the stock market. So comparing it in this way that seems honestly overly simplistic. Like, you've got to, like, if you think for 1 second that fucking Square Enix somewhere along the line doesn't have its money invested in places, some of its money invested in places, like, you're crazy. All of these companies have multiple avenues, multiple revenue streams, multiple whatevers. Like, it would be ridiculous to think that a company of that size does not have someone with money invested somewhere. Like, so it's like they're not zero-sum games. And so to look at it as if it's a zero-sum game denies complicated market values, denies, like, there are advantages and disadvantages in creating a product versus investing in a stock market of some kind, or, you know, stock markets, or oh shit, what's the thing where you invest in, like, actual, like, products, like steel or oil or
futures?
Thank you, futures. My brain is just not braining well tonight. But, like, you know, whether
oh my
you're investing...
god, I actually had the right thing.
Yeah, futures are a thing.
No, I know they're a thing. I just pulled the right word out of my ass.
I think so. I think you're right. I don't know. I'm going with it. Regardless, like, you know, there are inherent, you know, pros and cons, risks and rewards for each one. And, like, if you're creating a product, one, it's not zero sum, and two, like, it holds lasting value. Like Final Fantasy XIV, for example, has been around for what, a decade, many years, and sure, they needed to invest a lot of money up front. They have an ongoing cost to both run the game.
14 years.
Is it really 14 years, or are you just saying that because it's Final Fantasy 14?
Well, okay, 13 years, going on 14 in September.
Okay, so, like, sure, they had an initial investment, but their return on investment for that would have been much higher over time. Like, that game has maintained and even grown in popularity over time. Like, so it's just different. And comparing them, this is an apples to oranges comparison. There's still money involved, and you can kind of, like, look at a percentage and use that to maybe kind of squint and make a guess. But you have no idea what markets are going to do. You have no idea. So, yeah. I guess to kind of, like, cap that off a little better than I did, like, thinking about it for a second, is just, like, to say this in this way feels like executive speak for trying to justify why they want to get so much money.
Pretty much.
It feels like fake, made-up bullshit that is trying to do a sleight of hand with you by waving the stock market in front of your face, hoping you get distracted.
Oh, there's more corporate bullshit in this. So, assuming marketing expenses at $50 million, and assume that you're not getting going to get that $49 after 30% platform fees, but rather closer to 40 by giving discounts, returns, and other aspects. Now, let's say in that first month you sold 3 million copies with $40 net received, or the recoup. You need to surpass 254 million to make expectations. So, also throwing marketing into it as well before, on top of that bullshit return on investment thing. All right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just feels so out of touch that they're making a product instead of, you know, investing in a stock, you know?
Yeah. If you want to invest in the stock market, go invest in the stock market, Square Enix. You're trying to create and sell a product. Fuck off. These are apples to oranges comparisons. You're trying to confuse people.
I think we're so far out. It's not even still a fruit. I think we're like apple to a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
And also the thing is that assuming that you keep your product on the market, because that's become a thing too. Yeah, just pulling stuff after a while. It's more of a long tail investment.
Yeah.
You get that big initial spike, but then assuming your game is worth half of a damn or even a quarter of a damn, you're going to get sales for years and years and years. And as you put it on a discount and knock down the price, you're going to pick up more and more units. It's not that great day one. We sold 5 billion copies. We somehow sold it to most of the people on the fucking planet. But you recoup the cost over time. But I know that doesn't make the line go up. That slow churn of money coming in is not that big chunky thing that the investors must hear to be able to push the stock price up just that little bit more so that the golden parachute gets a little bit bigger,
Yeah. There's also the difference in, for this comparison, liquid versus fixed assets.
Mm-hmm.
Liquid assets don't necessarily mean just straight up cash on hand. But your stocks, anything that you invest in the stock market is not a liquid asset. Yes, you can sell your stock, you can get out of the market, but you have gained nothing until you actually pull it from the market to utilize it. In real world terms. And so if they get lucky and they double their investment over a 5-year period, they still don't have any money in hand to operate, to pay their staff, to pay their bills, to pay their taxes, which they probably don't pay because they're a company, they're Japanese, I don't know their tax structure, but you have no cash flow to do that. Whereas with a product, you sell a product and you get money back, which is a liquid asset. Like, sure, there's a process that it goes through, your whatever Japanese Walmart is, or whatever distributor, they get the initial payment, they take their cut, they send the rest of the money to, Square Enix or whatever company, goes into their bank account. And then they can use that money to pay staff, taxes, reinvest in things for the company or whatever. Like, that's something that they can use. Whereas with the stock market, they can't until they sell out of the stock market. And moving that much stock tends to affect the price of the stock. And so you don't have a final value until you actually cash out. So theoretically, maybe you've made $100 million, but until you actually get that money in your pocket or get it out so you can turn around and reinvest it or do something with it, it might as well be $0. Like, that's the whole point of these accounts for the individual person for retirement. You put a little bit into it over a period of time and it, grows in value, and then you cash out. But if you never cash out, you never make any money, regardless of what the paper says. So, yeah, Square Enix, full of shit.
Mm-hmm. Former executive, double full of shit.
Yep.
But hey, at least they're not setting unrealistic sales expectations, huh?
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, here we are. We did a thing, Rage. We talked about a game that I found really interesting, and then basically I was sad. So
you're welcome.
How can people get in touch with us?
Well, if you wish to send, what was that prescription again that you found in your mama's luggage?
Fluoxetine, which is an antidepressant.
Yeah, I pretty much figured that out from the achievement pop-up. Mama's little helper.
Yeah, it's the generic for Prozac.
If you was to send Shrinky Dinky some of that, well, we don't have a mailing address, so a little out of luck there. But if you was to send us show topics if you wish to contact us. VGLpodcast@gmail.com. You could drop by the Discord, which you can find a link to that over at VGLpodcast.podbean.com. Or you can tweet us over at the Bluebird. Yes, I'm still calling it that because fuck Elon Musk in particular. VGL Podcast over there.
Indeed. You can find me on Twitter at JMA4707 and on Blue Sky. I haven't posted anything on Blue Sky in a little bit. It's sadly not the same. It's just not as much happening there. And then, of course, you can contact me on our Discord. You can send a smoke signal.
Yeah, I figured you were going for the more general one, not mine.
Nah. Well, I mean, I was. And then, like you said, the Blue Burb and all that jazz. So, excuse me. Do you have more things you'd like to add to that?
Game OCR, if you wish to contact me. Caffeine Rage on Steam. I make frequent trips to your mom's house.
Yeah. I don't know why you would, but knock yourself out, I guess.
Well, see, I'm over there sorting out the truck.
Look at you go.
I'm just there with a 9-volt battery tapping it on the side of the truck.
There you go.
What does this do?
There you go. All right, bud, take us home.
I'm not falling for that one again. But once again, you can contact us via VGL Podcast with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics. You tweet us VGL Podcast, or drop by the Discord, which you can find a link to that over at VGLpodcast.podbean.com. And if you wish to spread the love, you can find us on your podcatcher of choice. Our lovely, lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find out more about that over at patreon.com/VGLpodcast. And our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Ken McLeod. You can find his work over at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See ya.
Bye-bye.